next half hour or so, really discussing what has been an escalating crisis here in the Middle East.
Where Arab and Muslim leaders are meeting in Saudi Arabia. They're discussing the wars and
gunfall of Syria's regime, the dawn of a new reality.
Israel now has carried out a wave of heavy airstrikes across Syria.
In 2024, the Middle East's forgotten hostilities suddenly resurfaced. The physical wounds of people impacted by these conflicts bear witness to the reality they once feared. The region portrays a grim turning point as a result of the international attention being paid to Gaza and Iran's attacks on Israel. Diplomatic upheavals like the questionable Saudi-Israel reconciliation initiatives and rising proxy warfare are causing monumental shifts. Therefore, the question becomes more relevant than ever. Why does the Middle East still affect world geopolitics, garnering attention and prompting involvement from other countries? Come along with me as we delve into the answers. We must first examine its historical significance to properly understand why the Middle East is a geopolitical hotspot. As the center of civilizations, empires, and religions, the area has long been a center of power and influence over the region. After World War I, the Ottoman Empire fell, and European countries revised their borders based on colonial interests rather than ethnic, tribal, or religious coherence. In 1916, the infamous Sykes-Picot Agreement created arbitrary borders that led to ongoing warfare and split the nation. The emergence of contemporary governments such as Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan put separate institutions under one national roof. Meanwhile, the Balfour Declaration in 1917 and the eventual foundation of Israel in 1948 laid the groundwork for the Arab-Israeli conflict, a crucial issue that dominates the Middle East's political landscape. Regional blocs and alliances in the Middle East have historically influenced the geopolitical landscape of the region for political, economic, and sectarian reasons. The GCC, or Gulf Cooperation Council, is one example. Originally established to counter Iran's growing might, the alliance consists of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, and Kuwait. These Sunni monarchies have enormous power, especially the oil-rich ones. However, there are internal issues even inside the GCC. The Qatar boycott, which lasted from 2017 to 2021, brought these divisions to light. Even if they put on a united exterior, internal disputes remain. In 2023, the United States arranged a peace agreement between Saudi Arabia and Israel that was supposed to mend fences between the two countries. Initially, there seemed to be hope for meaningful negotiations aimed at normalizing relations between the two countries. However, the Israel-Hamas war that followed Hamas's October 7, 2023 strike on Israel complicated matters and stalled the pace of the negotiations, especially since the Palestinians had international support. This goes to attest to how crucial the Palestinian conflict is to Middle Eastern diplomacy. Analysts are hopeful that there can still be reconciliation as long as Israel is prepared to make real compromises to address the Palestinian problem. The axis of resistance on the other side of the geopolitical split is led by Iran, Syria, Hezbollah, and groups such as Hamas. Opposition to the supremacy of Israel and the United States in the Middle East gave rise to this network of Iranian-backed militias and political groups. In the case of a significant conflict with Israel, its members are supposed to cooperate, form bonds, and strive toward the common goal of eliminating Israel. Iran is at the forefront, and over decades, Iran has invested significant resources to bolster each group's military prowess while cultivating vital linkages between them. The region's war has gotten worse as a result, and the geopolitical world is under tremendous strain. Meanwhile, under President Erdogan's capable leadership, Turkey has become a vital actor. Turkey has adopted an audacious foreign and military strategy, particularly its engagement in Syria and Iraq to oppose Kurdish forces. Despite being a NATO member, Turkey maintains a balance between its ties with the United States and Russia, demonstrating its distinct place in world geopolitics. Turkey's acquisition of Russia's S-400 missile systems is a clear example of this, and it also influences the present geopolitical chessboard in Libya and the Eastern Mediterranean. Finally, despite its recent decline in activity, Egypt continues to play a vital role in mediating the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Although Egypt is still mediating ceasefires between Israeli and Palestinian factions because of its geographic location and experience as a mediator, its significance has been overshadowed by Saudi Arabia and Turkey, who have emerged as the current major players in the Middle East. Peace in the Middle East is still elusive despite several international efforts. The Israel-Hamas conflict is becoming more violent in 2024, and there are growing concerns about Iran's nuclear aspirations. But why does peace seem so unattainable here? At the center of the region's struggle is the deep-rooted religious difference between Sunni and Shia Muslims, typified by the enmity between Iran, which is Shia majority, and Saudi Arabia, which is Sunni majority. Yet it's not just about religion, this difference is political too. In war zones like Yemen, Iraq, and Lebanon, both governments use their enormous financial resources to support militias and proxy organizations. The fighting in these little conflicts never truly stops, it just moves to new fronts to gain more regional domination. The participation of international powers adds to its complexity. Russia has firmly established itself in Syria to protect its hegemony, while the United States has military interests in both Syria and Iraq. One of the main players in the Middle East nowadays is China. Its involvement has altered the landscape of the region, considering not just traditional energy sources but also economic, geopolitical, and strategic concerns. A significant diplomatic win for China in the Middle East occurred in March 2023, when Saudi Arabia and Iran successfully mediated a deal. The rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran was one of the most significant developments in the Middle East in 2023. The Gaza war, however, cast doubt on China's true influence in Middle Eastern events. The increasing militarization of the Red Sea in light of the events in Gaza has exposed China's limited control throughout events in regional hotspots and prompted concerns about Beijing's interest in maintaining the outcomes of its mediation between Riyadh and Tehran a year ago. Despite its political unrest, the Middle East is home to some of the world's highest unemployment and poverty rates, while having incredibly affluent governments that can afford to provide healthcare, education, and electricity subsidies to their citizens. Why is this the case? The two main factors driving the Middle East's economy are natural gas and oil. Nearly half of all known natural gas reserves and 53% of the world's confirmed oil reserves are found in the region, and these two resources power practically all of the richest economies in the area. But simply having vast energy reserves isn't a guarantee of financial success. Unexpected conflicts, sanctions, and price fluctuations in the Middle East's ever-evolving political landscape have the potential to completely upend the economic fortunes of even the most strong oil-rich states. Be rest assured that when there's any instability in the region, global oil prices soar high. Consider the energy crisis of 2023, when Iran tried to shut the Strait of Hormuz, a vital route that accounts for 20% of the world's oil supply, due to geopolitical tensions, which caused oil prices to rise. This is why global powers like the United States, Russia, and China remain intimately committed. They recognize that any volatility here impacts the entire world economy. But it's not just oil. The Middle East's scarcity of fresh water is another component of the issue. Ineffective irrigation methods, overuse of groundwater resources, and poor water management are the primary causes of the present water crisis in the Middle East. Moreover, climate change is exacerbating the problem by increasing the frequency and intensity of droughts. The belief that the next war in the Middle East will be about water is widespread and frequently stated. This is not far from the truth, particularly in light of previous battles involving water. There is a clear link between political conflict and water in the Middle East, because the political conflict in Syria resulted from a devastating drought in the Levant region and continued abuse by the Assad regime. Without the water problems, the rebellion would not have taken place. The water problem now is endless. Farmers in southern Iraq are being forced into densely populated urban areas as a result of the Tigris River's flows being reduced to the tides and ebbs of Gulf seawater, due to the many dams built on it in Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. Moscow has consented to provide Tehran with fighter jets and military helicopters, which Iranian pilots are utilizing for training. Deliveries of Su-35s might begin this year. As for Iran's nuclear program, things are heating up in 2024. Despite global efforts to rein in Tehran, Iran is inching closer to getting a nuclear bomb. This has the entire area on edge, with the real possibility of a regional arms race, and with Israel preparing to take military action if it sees no other option. Is there any chance of peace? Shortly, a great deal of uncertainty exists. If Hamas continues to control Gaza, if the Israeli attack kills so many people, and so on, there are grave doubts about whether peace can be reached. It is still only a sliver of hope, but it is the best we have, and such a result is not unattainable, even with the challenges in the way of a true and lasting peace. It's an undeniable fact that the Middle East continues to be a geopolitical hotspot for the people who live near and far. Millions of lives are at stake as major world powers engage in their influence-peddling activities. The question now is how to work so that the future of this region is dictated by understanding and diplomacy, rather than by bloodshed and not by how to prevent the next crisis. Will you join in the dialogue to bring about change, or will you just stand by and watch the conflict cycle continue? Let's keep the conversation going by commenting in the space below and sharing this video to spread knowledge of the complexity of the Middle East.